Mini Metro is a game that will forever live rent-free in my mind. It's a simple concept executed so well that it manages to stick with you long after you finish playing. It's not a flashy game, nor does it try to be something it's not. Instead, Mini Metro focuses on a singular idea, designing a metro system, and hones it to near perfection. The game's minimalist visuals, thoughtful sound design, and strategic yet accessible gameplay create an experience that is both meditative and challenging. In this video essay, I'll explore the game's origins at Dinosaur Polo Club, break down its art, sound, and gameplay, and discuss why this seemingly simple game has left such a lasting impression on so many of us. To truly appreciate Mini Metro, it's essential to understand the background of its creators and how their experiences shaped the game. Dinosaur Polo Club, the studio behind Mini Metro, was founded by brothers Peter and Robert Curry in Wellington, New Zealand. The story of how these two brothers came to create one of the most iconic minimalist games of the decade is as interesting as the game itself. Peter and Robert Curry grew up in a household that encouraged creativity and problem solving. From a young age, both were fascinated by computers and video games. Their father, a computer programmer, introduced them to programming early on, sparking a lifelong passion. They were also deeply influenced by the games of the 1980s and 1990s, particularly those that emphasized creative problem solving and strategic thinking. After completing their education, both brothers found their way into the video game industry. Peter began his career at Seedhay Interactive, one of New Zealand's most prominent game development studios, known for titles like Rugby League and Grip Shift. At Seedhay, Peter worked as a programmer, honing his skills and gaining valuable experience in the industry. Robert, on the other hand, took a slightly different path. While also working at Seedhay, he initially focused more on the technical aspects of game development, such as tools programming, which involved creating the software tools that other developers use to build games. This focus on the underlying systems of game design would later inform his approach to creating Mini Metro. The idea for Mini Metro didn't emerge overnight. It was the result of years of experience, experimentation, and a deep understanding of what makes games engaging. The brothers initially developed a simple prototype for Ludum Dare 26, a game jam centered around the theme of minimalism. The concept, a game about designing a metro system, was a perfect fit for the theme. The prototype was far from polished, but it contained the core idea that would eventually become Mini Metro. After the game jam, Peter and Robert saw potential in the prototype and decided to develop it into a full game. However, this was no easy task. The brothers had to leave their jobs at Seedhay and dedicate themselves fully to the project, a decision that was both risky and challenging. They launched a Kickstarter campaign in 2014 to fund the development of Mini Metro, which raised over $30,000. This funding allowed them to continue working on the game, refining it through countless iterations and playtests. The development process was intense. The brothers were not just developers, they were also their own producers, marketers, and playtesters. They focused on stripping the game down to its essentials, removing anything that didn't contribute to the core experience. This process of refinement is what ultimately led to Mini Metro's minimalist aesthetic and gameplay, which is both simple to understand and challenging to master. By the time Mini Metro was released in 2015, it was clear that the brothers had created something special. The game was well received by critics and players alike, praised for its elegant design and addictive gameplay. But for Peter and Robert, the success of Mini Metro wasn't just about the accolades. It was about creating a game that resonated with people, a game that could be both fun and meaningful. The sound design and music of Mini Metro are integral to the experience, and their development was a key part of the game's overall design philosophy. Rich Freeland, known professionally as Disasterpiece, was brought on to create the game's audio landscape. Vreeland was already well known in the indie game scene for his work on games like Fez and Hyper Light Drifter, where his music played a crucial role in establishing the atmosphere. Vreeland's approach to the sound design in Mini Metro was to create something that was as minimalistic and functional as the game's visual style. The sounds in Mini Metro are not just ambient noise, they are tied directly to the player's actions. Every time a player connects a station or draws a new line, a corresponding sound is generated. These sounds are simple, often just a single tone or a short sequence of notes, but they are carefully crafted to blend seamlessly with the game's ambient music. The music itself is ambient and adaptive, designed to evolve as the player's metro system grows. Vreeland used a technique called generative music, where the soundtrack is not fixed, but is instead created in real time based on the player's actions. This approach allows the music to respond dynamically to the gameplay, creating a soundscape that is unique to each playthrough. What's particularly interesting about the sound design in Mini Metro is how it balances form and function. The audio cues serve a practical purpose, alerting players to important events like overcrowded stations or newly appeared stations, but they also contribute to the overall mood of the game. The sounds are calming, almost meditative, helping to create an experience that is as much about managing stress as it is about solving puzzles. Vreeland's music also plays a key role in establishing the game's tone. The soundtrack is minimalist, with sparse melodies and ambient textures that reflect the simplicity of the game's design. But it's also dynamic, changing in intensity and complexity as the game progresses. This dynamic quality ensures that the music never becomes repetitive or monotonous, even after hours of gameplay. Overall, the sound design and music in Mini Metro are a perfect complement to the game's visual style and gameplay. They are both functional and artistic, enhancing the player's experience without ever overwhelming it. This balance is a testament to the skill of Disaster Peace and the careful planning of the Curry brothers, who understood the importance of every element in creating a cohesive and engaging game. The visual design of Mini Metro is a masterclass in minimalism. The game's art style is inspired by classic transit maps, most notably the London Underground map designed by Harry Beck in the 1930s. Beck's map was revolutionary because it prioritized clarity and simplicity over geographic accuracy, using clean lines and geometric shapes to represent the complex network of subway lines and stations. In designing Mini Metro, the Curry brothers took this idea of simplicity and applied it to the world of video games. The game's interface is stripped down to the bare essentials. Stations are represented by basic shapes, circles, triangles, squares, and metro lines are depicted as smooth, colorful paths. There is no unnecessary detail. Everything on the screen serves a purpose. This minimalist approach is not just an aesthetic choice, it's also a practical one. The simplicity of the visuals allows players to focus on the gameplay without being distracted by unnecessary details. The use of color is particularly effective in this regard. Each metro line is assigned a distinct color, making it easy for players to differentiate between them and plan their routes efficiently. The colors are bright and vibrant, but they are used sparingly, ensuring that the game remains visually appealing without being overwhelming. What's remarkable about Mini Metro's visual design is how it manages to convey so much information with so little. The game's minimalistic aesthetic forces players to think critically about the relationships between stations and the efficiency of their network. This emphasis on clarity and functionality is a big part of what makes Mini Metro so compelling. It's a game that communicates its ideas visually, without the need for complex tutorials or guides. The visual design of Mini Metro also has a unique ability to evoke a sense of calm. The clean lines and smooth animations create a soothing experience, even as the gameplay becomes increasingly challenging. This contrast between the visual simplicity and the strategic depth of the gameplay is one of the game's most defining characteristics. It allows players to become fully immersed in the process of building and managing their metro system, without the distractions that often accompany more visually complex games. But perhaps the most impressive aspect of Mini Metro's visual design is its adaptability. The game's minimalist style translates well across different platforms, from desktop to mobile, ensuring a consistent experience regardless of the device. This versatility is a testament to the thoughtfulness of the design, which was created with the player's experience in mind. While the art and sound of Mini Metro are crucial to its appeal, the gameplay is where the game truly shines. At its core, Mini Metro is a puzzle strategy game, but it's one that is deceptively complex. The basic premise is simple. You draw lines to connect stations. creating a network that efficiently transports passengers to their destinations. However, as the city grows and new stations are added, the challenge ramps up significantly. The gameplay of Mini Metro is characterized by its accessibility and depth. The mechanics are straightforward and easy to understand, making the game approachable for players of all skill levels. But this simplicity doesn't mean the game is easy. As your metro system expands, you're faced with increasingly difficult decisions. Do you extend an existing line to cover a new station, or do you create a new line altogether? How do you allocate your limited resources, such as additional trains, carriages, and tunnels, to ensure that your network can handle the growing number of passengers? These decisions become more complex as the game progresses, turning what initially seems like a straightforward task into a strategic challenge. One of the most interesting aspects of Mini Metro's gameplay is its focus on efficiency. The game doesn't just reward the construction of a sprawling metro network, it rewards the creation of a network that functions smoothly and effectively. This means that players must constantly balance the need to expand with the need to maintain a system that operates without delays or overcrowding. The game encourages players to think critically about their decisions, often forcing them to make tough choices about which stations to prioritize and how best to use their limited resources. Mini Metro's gameplay is also remarkably dynamic. As the game progresses, new stations appear randomly on the map, forcing players to adapt their strategies on the fly. This unpredictability keeps the gameplay fresh and engaging, as no two playthroughs are ever the same. The placement of stations, the distribution of passengers, and the availability of resources all vary from game to game, creating a unique challenge each time. The pacing of Mini Metro is another key factor in its gameplay appeal. The game starts off slow, giving players time to familiarize themselves with the mechanics and plan their network. But as the game progresses, the pace quickens and the pressure builds. Stations begin to overcrowd, and the player is forced to make quick decisions to prevent their system from collapsing. This gradual increase in difficulty keeps the gameplay engaging and ensures that players are constantly challenged, no matter how experienced they become. What's truly remarkable about Mini Metro's gameplay is its balance between strategy and creativity. While the game is undoubtedly a puzzle at its core, it also allows for a great deal of player expression. There's no single right way to build a metro system in Mini Metro. Instead, the game encourages players to experiment with different approaches and find solutions that work best for their playstyle. Some players may opt for a highly efficient, tightly managed network, while others might prefer a more sprawling, less structured approach. The game's design supports both playstyles, allowing players to find their own way to success. Mini Metro also offers several different game modes, each providing a unique twist on the core gameplay. The standard mode challenges players to build a network that can handle increasing passenger demand, while the endless mode allows for a more relaxed, sandbox-like experience where players can experiment without the pressure of losing. The daily challenges and extreme modes add an extra layer of difficulty, catering to players who are looking for a real test of their skills. These different modes help to extend the game's replayability, ensuring that players have a reason to return to Mini Metro time and time again. Whether you're playing to beat your previous high score, to tackle a new daily challenge, or simply to relax and enjoy the process of building a metro system, Mini Metro offers something for everyone. In conclusion, Mini Metro is a game that excels through its simplicity. It's a game that doesn't need flashy graphics or complex mechanics to be engaging. Instead, it focuses on refining a single idea, building a metro system, and executes it with precision. The minimalist art style, the carefully crafted sound design, and the strategic yet accessible gameplay all work together to create an experience that is both meditative and challenging. But perhaps the most impressive thing about Mini Metro is how it sticks with you. It's a game that you can play for a few minutes or a few hours, and either way, it leaves an impression. The simplicity of its design belies the depth of its gameplay, and that's what makes it such a memorable experience.